possess it.
You will never find it, sir.
We block their escape. Where is my son? Please, get him!
This is the story of a guy who is apprehended by rebels, and how a smuggler helps him find his family in exchange for a diamond worth crores. This is a narrative about Africa. At the beginning of the narrative, we see Solomon. He wakes his son up in the morning to go to school. He is a fisherman and relies on fishing to support his family. Solomon is returning home from school with his son Diameter. Then he notices that the rebels are approaching their settlement. He runs towards the village with his son. He hides his son and leaves to rescue his wife and daughters. The rebels storm the community and begin slaughtering people. They are everywhere. Solomon breaks his hut from behind and takes his wife and children out of there, but he is caught. He begs his family to leave. The rebels apprehend him and transport him to the village to rescue the survivors. They bring him to their captain, Captain Poison. He claims that the government wants you to vote, so they chop people's hands, preventing them from voting. Solomon's turn arrives, but Poison stops his men. He claims he'll work in the mine. Following that, the rebels set the settlement on fire. They forced the abducted individuals to labor in the mines and harvest diamonds from there. These gems were sold around the world. If someone attempted to take them, he would be murdered. Then they show a plane in which Danny is a smuggler. Danny has come here to meet a rebel leader. He will take the gems and offer them firearms in exchange. The rebels needed weapons to combat the government. He snatches the diamonds from the leader. Now he needs to get these jewels out of country. He is traversing a mountain with some rocks when the army arrives. Danny informs them that he is a wild beast. A soldier who is a life photographer discovers gems in the neck of a goat. Danny used to work for Colonel Kotz, and the troops have arrested him. Meanwhile, Solomon is working on Captain Poison's mind when he discovers a large diamond in his leg and escapes under the guise of using the restroom. Then Captain Poison stops him. He searches for it, but he doesn't find anything. Solomon goes further into the jungle and sees the diamond and wraps it in a cloth and starts hiding it in the ground. But Captain Poison spots him. Then the army assaults, injuring Captain Poison. Solomon conceals the diamond somewhere in the forest. Then the army arrives and apprehended him. All of the troops are sent to the prison. Danny is also in the same prison. Poison visits Solomon and inquires about the diamond. Solomon says, "I've got it. There's no diamond. My family has turned against me as a result of your actions. What have I got? Nothing." Danny hears all of this and discovers that the diamond is really large. Following this, Danny gets released from jail. His pal informs him that Danny's arrest has been reported in the press. Danny asks him to get Solomon out of the jail. Someone is keeping an eye on him. After this, Danny comes to his house. He had hidden a diamond in his teeth. When Danny emerges, the man who was keeping an eye on him enters his home. Danny goes inside a shop and sells the diamond. Solomon also exits the prison. Danny's pal gives him some money, and the man is monitoring everything. Following this, Danny heads to a pub. Danny's gaze falls on a girl. Danny approaches her. The girl's name is Maddie, and during the talk, he discovers that Maddie is a journalist, and she was aware that Danny trafficked diamonds for a British corporation called Wendy Cap. She wanted to speak with him about this. Danny exits after hearing this. After this, Danny comes to his house. The door of the house is open and all the things are scattered. He knows whose job it is. Following this, he discovers Cordell. This is the same individual who invaded his home. Both of them work for Colonel Kotesh, and Danny was aware that Cordell had entered his home. Solomon is depicted there. He arrives at the refugee camp looking for his family, but they are not present. Rebels were everywhere. Dia and the survivors were attempting to flee. Then rebels arrive and take Dia with them. Following this, Danny visits Colonel Kotesh. He informs Danny that the rebels have retaken the diamond mines from the government. He realizes he will get rid of the rebels. He says that because of him, the diamonds were caught and he has suffered a lot of loss, and he wants Danny to compensate him, and he should bring the diamond and give it to him. Danny then finds Solomon and asks him about the gem, but Solomon refuses to answer and departs. Dia is displayed there among other youngsters. The rebels brainwash them. They teach them how to wield weapons and enlist them into their army. They blindfold Dia and position a man in front of him. They ask him to shoot. Captain Poison knew Dia was Solomon's son. He advises Dia to inform him if he needs anything. He knew Solomon would eventually come looking for Dia, so he intended to keep Dia with him in the meantime. Danny returns to the same tavern and begs the bartender for a pistol. He takes the gun, and then Danny's eyes fall on Maddie. He asks her for a dance. Maddie starts asking Danny about diamond smuggling. Danny exits, but Maddie remains. She asks him whether it makes a difference how many people die for these stones. Danny claims that this is Africa, and that I smuggle diamonds because females like you must fulfill their needs. Meanwhile, the army arrives in the city when Rubles is spotted nearby. The army takes command of the city. Solomon formerly worked in a hotel in this location. Danny follows him and arrives at the same place. He inquires about Solomon's plans for selling the gem. Danny claims to have contacts that can help him sell the gem. Solomon continues to keep him in the dark. Danny says he can find his family only then. Rebels attack there. Solomon does not trust Danny. Danny says that we will divide the diamonds and you will get your family. Solomon had no other options. Following this, Danny and Solomon flee from the rebels. The rebels shoot indiscriminately at the persons present. People go to the army to save themselves. A confrontation between the army and the rebels begins, and the rebels use a rocket launcher to blow out an army truck. Danny and Solomon enter the home to save themselves, and several individuals are already present. Danny witnesses the army hand over their weapons in front of the rebels. The rebels now controlled the entire city. When it is night, both of them emerge from there. There are rebels everywhere. The entire city is burning, but both of them manage to escape from there. They reach a bridge where there are some rebels. Danny converts Solomon into a rebel and murders him. He becomes a prisoner and murders the rebels present. Following this, they both cross the bridge and go on with the migrants. When Solomon inquires, Danny responds that they are headed to Lungi. That location is still under government control. He must summon his pilot from there, who will transport them farther. Danny attempts to enter after he arrives, but the guard refuses. There, he encounters a journalist who wants to see Maddie and tells her he has a story. Maddie eventually arrives. Danny tells her how diamonds are smuggled out of Africa. In return, he asks Maddie for help in finding Solomon's family. Maddie agrees to assist. They depart for Gina on a chopper with Maddie because Solomon's family is present. When Maddie arrives, she offers the guard a list of Solomon's family names. Solomon begins seeking for his family among the crowd. Then he notices his wife Jessie. He inquires about Diana. Solomon loses his cool when she informs him the rebels have seized her. The guards instruct him to move away from the fan, and when he refuses, they beat him. Danny warns that they will shoot you, and they both return with Maddie. Danny requests that Solomon show him the location of the diamond on a map. But Solomon starts telling him about his son. His son wanted to study and he wanted to become a doctor. Danny comes to Maddie. She is writing Solomon's narrative, but she really wants to stop what is occurring here, and she needs proof, which only Danny can provide. Danny claims that the diamond is required to get Solomon and his family out of here, but Maddie knew all along. Danny informed her about it. Danny is trying to grab the jewels. Danny insists that they visit Kono, but only generalists are permitted to do so. He asks Maddie to help them, but she declines. Danny explains to Maddie how diamonds are smuggled out of Africa and transported to the Vandicap firm. He gives her a diary which also has the details of their bank accounts. Danny says that before giving the diamonds to them, if this news comes out, he will kill me. When Maddie asks what happens if you don't return from there, Danny responds, "You may write whatever you want since I will be dead." Danny and Solomon then sit in a vehicle with the other journalists on their way to Kono. Along the way, they see that insurgents had assaulted an ambulance. Everyone jumps off the bus and starts shooting photographs, but the rebels assault them. Maddie, Danny, and Solomon get in a vehicle and drove away from there. The rebel camp is depicted there. The rebels used to give the youngsters medicines to keep them under control. He used to take care of those children here. Danny asks Benjamin why the rebels don't attack here. Benjamin says that I know these rebels since they were children. He plans to continue with Benjamin the next day. Two youngsters from the rebels are standing on the road. Benjamin attempts to speak with them, but they shoot him. Danny takes them from there and goes. He arrives in Colonel Katz's camp. The colonel informs Danny that we must first deal with the rebels before he would hand over the diamonds. Danny requests Solomon to wait for him behind the tent. He claims he needs guns. He urges Maddie to approach the guard station there. Danny and Solomon were going to get the jewels. He provides Maddie with all of the proof supporting his story. Maddie talks to the guard and Danny puts the things he needs in a bag. Solomon was waiting for him behind the tent. Maddie and Danny say goodbye to each other. According to reports, Danny and Solomon then leave. All non-Africans are being returned to their homeland. Corden inquires about Danny, and Maddie informs him that Danny has gone alone to obtain gems. Danny and Solomon are moving forward. While they are strolling, it turns into darkness. When they notice rebels approaching, they both hide in the bushes. Then Solomon believes Dia is among them and cries out his name, informing Rebel that there is someone present. They shot at them and both flee into the forest. They spend the night there in the forest and move ahead again the next day. They reach a village. Rebel had slain everyone there. He informs a man that Rebel has moved in this way. Solomon decides to pursue them because his son Dia may be among them. Danny stops him, but he refuses to listen. He says, "I'm going to find my son. You need to locate me. If you want to kill, just kill." Danny says, "We'll wait till night." When darkness falls, they approach the insurgent camp. Solomon notices that Dia is not present. They go from there, eventually arriving to the mine where the diamond was found. Solomon claims that he has concealed the diamond along the river behind the campsite. Danny says that he is telling the colonel about their position. He will send his chopper there, and when they are killing the rebels, then we will take the diamond. Solomon suggests that my kid may be present, but Danny ignores him and provides the colonel the coordinates of the location. He announces that the colonel's team would launch an attack in the morning. Starts to rain at night.
Danny notice Solomon's absence.
He enters the camp looking for his kid. Danny murders a guard and steals his firearm. Solomon recognizes his son Dia there. Solomon urges him to go, but Dia refuses. They grab him when he refuses to accompany them. Danny is observing from a distance. The following day, Captain Poison threatens Solomon's entire family with death if he does not provide the diamond. Then the colonel's helicopter arrives and attacks the rebels. Poison runs away with Dia and Solomon follows them. Solomon kills Poison. Bullets were being fired everywhere. All of this makes Dia very worried. Danny attempts to approach Dia, but he flees upon spotting Danny, but Danny apprehends him. The rebels flee to the forest, but the colonel's gang finds them and kills them. The colonel inquires about Danny's diamond. Both the colonel and Danny want the diamond, but if Danny refuses to tell him where it is, the colonel will murder him. He requests Solomon to give them the diamond, but Solomon refuses. Danny gives over Dia to the colonel. Following this, Solomon leads them to the location where he had concealed the gem. Solomon starts digging. There were 3 guards with the colonel. Then Solomon says that the diamond is here. Everyone is looking at the ground. Danny then kills all of the guards, followed by the colonel. Danny is also shot in this and Solomon receives the diamond. But suddenly more soldiers arrive, and all 3 flee into the bush. Danny claims that the jet is waiting for them behind the mountain. After this, he grabs Solomon's diamond. Danny's blood is unusually thick. Solomon encourages him to stop and recuperate, but Danny simply wants to get out of there with the diamond. He begins climbing the mountain. Danny wasn't doing well. He took each step with tremendous effort. Solomon was taking each step forward, carrying her on his shoulder. Danny asks him to stop. Then they see the plane coming. Danny knew that he cannot go further. Danny offers the diamond to Solomon. He also offers him Maddie's card and asks him to call her once he leaves. He hands him his revolver and tells him not to trust the pilot. Solomon promises he can pick you up and transport you away. But Danny knows his adventure stops here. He begs Solomon to go from there. Then the colonel's soldiers open fire on them. Danny interrupts them, and Solomon departs with Diameter. Danny contacts Maddie and invites her to meet Solomon and begs him to take her to London. Solomon arrives to the plane, and after a while it takes off. Danny tells Maddie that this is your story, and Maddie understands that Danny is not coming back. After this, a scene of London is shown. Solomon meets the owner of Wendy Cap there, and Maddie photographs both of them. Solomon promises to give her the diamond once his family arrives. Solomon's family arrives in London a few days later. In exchange, Solomon returns the diamond to the man. Maddie publishes the tale with proof, and the narrative ends here. How did you like this film? Do tell us in the comments. We will see you in the next video with another story.